In the quiet darkness of space above Earth, something new was being born. Far away from the eyes of ordinary people, governments and scientists worked together on a secret unlike any other. They called it Project Guardian. The name was simple, but what it meant was powerful. For many years, Earth had watched the stars with both wonder and fear. Humanity had learned that they were not alone. Strange signals, unidentified objects, and hidden whispers had already proven that other civilizations existed. Some were peaceful, some were not. And the strongest among them had ships so large, so advanced, that Earth's armies would look like children with sticks in comparison. The world's leaders knew the truth. If war ever came, humanity would not survive. But humans had one gift that no other race seemed to match: their stubbornness. They would not surrender without a fight. And so, in secret shipyards hidden in orbit and deep underground, they built something bold, something new. The first human battleship meant to fight in the stars. The ship was enormous, larger than any space station humans had ever made. Its black metal hull shone with strange alloys forged in silence under zero gravity. Entire nations had poured their wealth, their scientists, and their soldiers into it. The public was told nothing. To them it was just another satellite, another quiet rocket launch. But to those who worked inside, they knew this ship would decide Earth's future. It was called the Guardian. Inside, thousands of engineers and crew members trained day and night. The ship carried weapons humanity had never used before. Railguns that could fire slugs faster than sound, plasma cannons designed from theories stolen from alien wreckage, and shields made from technology so experimental that even the scientists were not sure they would work. Every system was untested. Every engine was dangerous. Yet there was no time to wait. For whispers had begun. Strange fleets had been seen near the edge of the solar system. Astronomers reported moving shadows beyond Pluto. Probes sent to investigate disappeared without a trace. Someone or something was watching Earth. The question was not if they would come. The question was when. The Guardian had to be ready. Captain Elias Ward stood on the bridge staring out at the endless stars. He was not a young man anymore, but his eyes carried the weight of both experience and fear. He knew what this ship meant. He knew what it cost. Billions of dollars, thousands of lives, and decades of secret planning. He also knew something else. Earth had no second chance. If the Guardian failed, humanity was finished. The crew was restless. Many of them were young, barely out of training. They had grown up in a world where space travel was routine, but battle in space was still a dream. Now they were about to face an enemy they had never seen. They laughed to hide their fear. They whispered rumors in the mess halls. Rumors of alien spies, of traitors inside Earth's own governments, of ancient secrets hidden in the ship's design. No one knew the full truth. Not even Captain Ward. One night, as the ship floated in Earth's orbit, the crew picked up a strange signal. It was faint, almost like static, but there was a pattern. A pulse, a rhythm too perfect to be random. The technicians tried to trace it, but it came from everywhere and nowhere at once. Some thought it was just background noise. Others swore it was a message. The Guardian had not even left orbit, and already something had found it. Captain Ward gave no orders to respond. He simply stood in silence, listening to the faint beeping sound echoing across the speakers. In that moment, everyone on the bridge felt it. The ship was not alone. The stars were not empty. Something was watching them, and then the signal stopped. The crew exchanged nervous glances. Some whispered that the enemy had already marked them. Others thought maybe it was a test, a warning. But one thing was clear: the secret was no longer safe. Earth's first battleship was ready to rise among the stars. But already the universe had noticed. Far beyond the edge of the solar system, in a place no human eye had ever seen, alien ships drifted in silence. Their black hulls glowed faintly against the void. They had heard the signal too, and they were moving. Humanity had built a weapon to protect itself, but the question remained: was the Guardian strong enough? Or had Earth just painted a giant target on its own back? The stars did not answer. They only waited. The day had come. After years of secret work, after whispers and rumors, after fear and hope, the Guardian was ready to leave Earth's orbit. It was the most powerful ship humanity had ever built, but also the most dangerous. Not even its creators were sure if it would survive its first flight. On the ground, the world still did not know. Ordinary people carried on with their lives, unaware that above them, History was about to change. Only a few leaders and hidden governments watched in silence. They knew the truth. If the Guardian failed, Earth's future might end before it even began. Inside the ship, the crew prepared. Engineers moved through the long corridors, checking systems that had never been tested in real battle. Generators hummed, shields flickered to life, and weapons powered for the first time. The sound of machinery echoed like a heartbeat. Captain Elias Ward stood on the bridge, calm but alert. He had been a soldier his entire life, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. This was not just a ship. This was Earth's last hope. Around him, young officers worked nervously at their stations, their fingers trembling over glowing panels. "Status report," Ward asked quietly. "All systems green." "Captain," replied Lieutenant Maracade, her voice sharp but steady. "Engines charged. Weapons standing by. Shield matrix is holding at 80%, fluctuating slightly." Ward gave a single nod. "That will have to do." The Guardian was not perfect. It had been rushed, built in fear, and tested only in fragments. Yet there was no more time to wait. Strange signals had already reached them. Scouts had been sighted near the edge of the solar system. The enemy was moving, and Earth had no choice. As the countdown began, the crew fell silent. The ship's massive engines roared to life, shaking the very air around it. Lights flickered, alarms beeped, but the systems held. Slowly, like a giant waking from sleep, the Guardian began to drift forward. From Earth, it looked like a small star rising into the sky. But in orbit, it was a beast, longer than a city, armored with dark plates that absorbed sunlight. Its guns glimmered faintly, hungry for their first test. The launch was supposed to be quiet, hidden. But nothing about the Guardian could remain secret forever. As it moved into open space, the crew picked up something unexpected. "Contact!" shouted the sensor officer. "Unidentified object bearing 049. Distance 200,000 kilometers and closing." The bridge filled with tension. Already? The Guardian had not even left orbit. "Visual?" Ward demanded. The screen flickered, and then it appeared. A small craft, sleek and sharp, gliding through space with impossible speed. It was not human. Its design was alien. Smooth lines, black metal, no visible engines. The crew gasped. This was it. Their first encounter. "Should we fire, Captain?" Lieutenant Cade asked, her hand hovering over the weapons panel. Ward hesitated. The Guardian was untested. If they fired now, they might reveal too much. But if they waited, the enemy might strike first. "Hold fire," he ordered. "Let's see what they want." The alien ship did not attack. Instead, it circled the Guardian like a predator studying its prey. Then it stopped, facing them directly. A beam of light flickered out, not a weapon, but a scan. Lines of data flashed across the Guardian's sensors. The alien craft was studying them. "Captain, they're probing our systems," an officer warned. "Shields are holding, but they know we're here." Ward's jaw tightened. "Let them look." For several long minutes, the alien ship scanned them in silence. Then, without warning, it vanished, slipping into faster-than-light travel with a flash of light. The crew sat frozen. It had not attacked. It had not spoken. But it had seen them. "Message sent," Ward muttered. "Now the whole galaxy knows Earth is no longer weak." The silence that followed was heavy. The crew knew what this meant. That ship had not been alone. It was a scout, and scouts always reported back. Hours later, as the Guardian moved beyond Earth's orbit, new signals appeared on the edge of the radar. Multiple contacts, many ships, far larger than the first. They were still distant, but moving closer with each passing hour. The bridge filled with whispers. Some officers were excited. Others were pale with fear. One thing was certain. The Guardian's secret launch had already failed. The enemy knew, and they were coming. Captain Ward turned to his crew. His voice was calm, but his words carried weight. "This is what we were built for. Earth cannot hide anymore. We are the shield. We are the blade, and we will not break." The Guardian's engines flared brighter, pushing the battleship deeper into the black sea of space. The crew braced themselves. The first launch had begun not with triumph, but with a warning. Far away, beyond the planets, alien warships gathered like storm clouds. Their weapons gleamed, their engines burned. The Valar Dominion had been watching, and now they were ready to strike. Humanity had built a giant. But the question burned in every mind, was it enough? The stars gave no answer. They only waited, cold and endless. For 2 days, the Guardian pushed deeper into space, away from Earth's orbit. The crew hoped the alien scout had been only a test, a warning that might be ignored. But hope is fragile, and in the silence of space, fear grew heavier with every passing hour. On the 3rd day, the waiting ended. The radar lit up like fire. Dozens of contacts appeared at once, slipping out of faster-than-light travel with cold precision. Their ships were vast, black and sharp-edged, bristling with weapons. They carried the mark of the Valar Dominion, one of the oldest and most feared empires in the galaxy. The Valar wasted no time. They sent a message. It came not in words but in force. A signal pulsed across every channel, every frequency, echoing like thunder inside the Guardian systems. Then a voice followed, deep, cold, and heavy with contempt. Humans of Earth, you have broken the law of the stars. No world may build a battleship without the Dominion's command. Destroy it or we will burn your planet. The crew stared at the screen in silence. The voice spoke in perfect English, though no one had taught them. Somehow the Valar already knew. Lieutenant Cade's hands shook as she turned to Captain Ward. They know everything. Our language, our ship, our plans. Ward's face remained calm, though his stomach twisted inside. Then they've been watching us longer than we thought. The crew whispered in the dark corners of the ship. How much did the Valar know? How long had they studied Earth in silence? And why now? Why reveal themselves only after the Guardian rose into the stars? The message repeated, each word like a hammer. Destroy your own battleship, or your world dies. Earth's leaders received the same threat. In hidden bunkers, arguments raged. Some demanded surrender. Others argued that if humanity destroyed the Guardian, they would be slaves forever. But none of those voices reached the crew aboard the ship. For them, there was no choice. The Guardian was their life, their shield, their only chance. That night, a secret was discovered. In the communication logs, a faint signal appeared. It was not from Earth nor from the Valar fleet. It was encrypted, buried deep inside the Guardian systems. When the technicians unlocked it, they found a strange recording. Valar voices speaking in their own language. Unaware humans would understand. Captain Ward listened as the translation unfolded. They are stronger than expected. Their design is not fully theirs. The Guardian carries pieces of the old ones. If left alive, humans may awaken what was lost. Ward froze. The bridge went silent. Pieces of the old ones? What did that mean? Lieutenant Cade whispered what everyone was thinking. They're afraid of us. It was unthinkable. Earth was weak compared to the great powers of the galaxy. Humanity had only just learned to build a battleship. And yet the Valar, so proud, so ruthless, spoke with fear in their voices. The crew began to see the Guardian differently. It was no longer just a desperate weapon. It was something more, something the Valar did not want to exist. But questions grew like shadows. Who were the old ones? What hidden technology had been used in the Guardian's design? And who on Earth knew the truth? The Valar fleet did not wait for answers. They moved closer, their ships gliding like black blades through the void. The Guardian sensors counted 20, then 30, then 40 warships, each one larger than anything humans had built. Orders, Captain? Cade asked. Her voice was tight, ready, but her eyes betrayed her fear. Ward looked at the screen, at the endless swarm of enemies. His crew was young, his ship untested, but retreat was not an option. We do not destroy our ship, he said. His voice was steady, cutting through the fear. We defend it. We defend Earth. The bridge held its breath. The crew understood. The Guardian would fight no matter the cost. Then something strange happened. From the Valar fleet, one smaller ship broke away. It moved toward the Guardian, slow and steady. No weapons were armed. No shields raised. Instead, it sent a single message across the void. Humans, you do not understand. The Guardian is not yours alone. It belongs to the stars. And if you keep it, you will bring war beyond your imagination. The message ended and the ship pulled back into the Valar line. The crew was left in silence, shaken to their core. Who had built the Guardian? Why did the Valar fear it so much? And what war were they talking about? One thing was clear. The enemy had revealed itself. The Valar Dominion would not stop until the Guardian was destroyed. The stars grew darker. The fleets moved closer. The first great battle of humanity was coming, and the future of Earth hung by a single thread. The Guardian raced through the cold dark of space, engines burning bright against the endless black. Behind it, Earth faded into a pale blue dot. Ahead, Saturn rose like a giant crown of light, its rings stretching wide across the void. The crew knew what waited for them there, the Valar fleet. For hours, the radar screens pulsed with red. Enemy ships were closing in, faster and faster. The Guardian was still untested. No one on board knew if its weapons would fire true, or if its shields would hold against alien power. But they had no choice. The first battle of humanity was about to begin. Captain Ward stood tall on the bridge, his hands clasped behind his back. His crew was tense, but their fear sharpened into focus. They all knew. History would remember what happened here. "Status report," Ward said. "Shields at 87%. Lieutenant Cade answered. "Weapons fully charged. Railguns locked. Plasma batteries standing by." The Guardian drifted into the shadow of Saturn's rings, using the thick field of ice and rock as cover. The giant planet glowed gold in the distance, while chunks of frozen stone tumbled like silent knives all around them. Then the enemy appeared. One by one, the Valar ships slipped out of faster-than-light travel. Dark, angular, and bristling with weapons, they looked like predators. 20 ships in total, their hulls glimmering with strange alien energy. They moved in perfect formation, surrounding the Guardian like wolves closing on a single prey. A voice cut through the comms. Cold, sharp, and full of contempt. "Humans, last chance. Destroy your battleship or watch your home burn." Ward's reply was simple. "This ship belongs to Earth. If you want it, you'll have to take it." The Valar fleet did not answer with words. They answered with fire. The first blasts lit up the darkness, beams of green energy slicing toward the Guardian. Shields flared, trembling under the impact. The ship shook violently, alarm screamed, but the defenses held. "Return fire," Ward commanded. The Guardian's railguns roared. Metal slugs shot out at impossible speed, crossing the void in seconds. One Valar cruiser was hit dead center. Its armor split open like paper, and the ship exploded in a silent bloom of fire. The crew cheered, but the victory was short. 3 more enemy ships surged forward, unleashing storms of plasma bolts. The Guardian's shields dimmed, systems sparked, corridors rattled as though the ship itself was crying in pain. Shields dropping to 60%. Cade shouted, "Hold the line!" Ward barked. The battle raged among Saturn's rings. The Guardian weaved through fields of ice and rock, using the debris for cover. Enemy ships shattered asteroids to pieces, each explosion lighting the dark like fireworks. The bridge crew fought with everything they had, firing railguns, launching plasma bursts, dodging attacks with desperate maneuvers. Another Valar ship was torn apart, its burning wreckage scattering across the rings. But for each enemy destroyed, more pressed forward. The Guardian was strong, but it was only one ship. Then something unexpected happened. A Valar vessel at the edge of the fight broke formation. Instead of firing, it transmitted a signal, not to the Dominion fleet, but to deep space far beyond the solar system. "They're sending a message," the comms officer cried, "broadcasting our position to the entire galaxy." Ward's heart sank. This was more than a battle. It was a beacon. Whoever the Valar feared, whoever they wanted to warn, now knew about the Guardian. "Target that ship," Ward ordered. The Guardian fired its main plasma cannon, a weapon so powerful it had never been tested. The blast tore across the void like a sunbeam, striking the Valar vessel and ripping it apart in one terrible flash. The signal ended, but had it already been sent? None could say. The battle continued. The Guardian fought like a beast, its weapons tearing through alien hulls, its crew refusing to yield. Blood was spilled in the lower decks as fires broke out, and engineers struggled to keep the engines alive. Every man and woman aboard knew that if they failed, Earth would be next. At last, after what felt like hours, the Valar fleet began to withdraw. Smoke and fire trailed behind them as they limped back into the darkness. Only half their ships survived. The Guardian floated broken but unbowed, its armor scorched, its shields flickering but still alive. The crew erupted in cheers. They had survived humanity's first true battle among the stars. They had defeated the Valar, at least for now. But as silence returned, Captain Ward did not smile. He looked out at the endless stars, his jaw tight. He knew this was only the beginning. If the Valar had sent a signal, others would come. Stronger, larger, more dangerous. And somewhere in the deep void beyond human sight, something else was already moving. The Guardian drifted through space like a wounded beast, Its armor was scarred, its shields weak, its engines barely holding together. Smoke lingered in the corridors and the smell of burned metal clung to the air. But despite the damage, the crew held their heads high. They had done the impossible. Humanity's first battleship had faced the Valar Dominion and survived, yet survival did not mean safety. Captain Ward knew it. He stood on the bridge, staring at the stars beyond Saturn. His crew celebrated quietly, but he did not join them. The Valar fleet had retreated, yes, but before it fled, one of their ships had broadcast a signal. A warning, a message, or perhaps a cry for reinforcements. Whatever it was, Ward knew Earth's secret was no longer a secret. The galaxy now knew about the Guardian. Hours passed. Repairs were rushed. Engineers worked without rest, patching the ship's hull and stabilizing the power systems. The crew whispered in the mess halls about the Valar, about the strange words from the intercepted message, and about the old ones the aliens had mentioned. None of them truly understood what it meant, but they all felt the same fear. The Guardian was more than just a weapon. It was a target. Then something unexpected happened. "Captain," the sensor officer said, his voice sharp with surprise. "New contact. Not Valar. Unknown signature. Approaching fast." The crew stiffened. The Guardian's weapons powered up again, ready for another fight. Everyone braced for the enemy to return. But when the ship appeared on the screen, it was not Valar. The vessel was different. Sleek, curved, and glowing with pale blue light. Its design was elegant, almost beautiful. Unlike the sharp, predatory style of Valar ships, it moved with grace as though it belonged to the stars themselves. The bridge fell silent. "Open channel," Ward ordered. A moment later, a voice filled the room. Calm, smooth, almost friendly. "Humans of Earth," the voice said, "do not be afraid. We are not your enemy. We are the Kale." The crew exchanged nervous glances. "A second alien race. Not hostile, at least not yet. We have seen your battle," the Kale continued. "We watched as you fought the Dominion. Few species survived their first clash with Valar power. But you did. That is why we are here." Ward narrowed his eyes. "And why is that?" The reply came without hesitation. "Because the Valar are not just your problem. They are everyone's problem." The Kale claimed to be allies. They spoke of freedom, of resisting the Dominion, of helping young species rise instead of being crushed. They offered knowledge, technology, even protection, but something in their words felt too smooth. Too practiced. Ward asked the question that burned in every human mind. "If you want to help us, why now? Why not before?" The Kale's answer was careful. "Because until now Earth was hidden. But now with the Guardian in the stars, you are no longer invisible. The Valar will come in greater numbers. They will bring fire and chains. If you stand alone, you will fall. With us you have a chance." The crew wanted to believe. Some nodded eagerly, whispering that maybe the Kyle were humanity's first friends in the galaxy. But others frowned, their instincts warning them of hidden motives. Allies, yes, but allies always wanted something. The Kale envoy requested permission to board the Guardian. Ward hesitated. Inviting aliens onto Earth's first battleship felt dangerous, but refusing could turn a possible friend into a certain enemy. After a long silence, he gave the order. "Prepare docking bay 3. When the Kale delegation arrived, the crew watched in awe. The aliens were tall and slender, their skin pale silver, their eyes glowing faintly like stars. They moved gracefully, their voices calm and measured. They carried no weapons, or at least none visible. The leader of the group, a Kyle diplomat named Sarai, stepped forward. "Captain Ward," she said, her voice soft but commanding, "your ship is not fully yours. The Guardian was not built only by human hands." The bridge went silent. "What do you mean?" Ward asked, his tone sharp. Sarai's glowing eyes held his. "Parts of your battleship come from knowledge that is not human. Fragments of technology from an older race. A race long gone, but not forgotten. That is why the Valar fear you. That is why they will not stop." The crew stared, stunned. The rumors, the whispers, the strange designs inside the Guardian, they were true. Earth had not built the ship alone. Sarai's voice lowered. "We Kyle know this because we too have searched for the old ones. We too fear what happens if their secrets fall into the wrong hands. If you keep the Guardian, Earth will be dragged into a war far greater than you imagine." The words hung in the air like thunder. Allies or spies, friends or liars. The Guardian had survived its first battle. But now a new question loomed. Should Earth trust the Kyle, Or were they another hand reaching for the heart of humanity's only hope? The stars outside glittered coldly, watching, waiting. The Guardian floated in silence, its hull scarred from battle, its crew tense after the Kyle delegation's arrival. For hours, Captain Ward and his officers listened to the silver-skinned aliens speak in calm, careful words. They spoke of freedom, of friendship, of resisting the Valar dominion. But beneath their smooth tone was a shadow, something they were not telling. At last, Ward lost his patience. He leaned forward, his voice sharp. Enough with riddles. Tell us what you mean. What do you know about this ship? What do you know about the old ones? The Kale envoy, Sarai, hesitated. Her glowing eyes flickered as though weighing whether humanity was ready. Then she spoke. Long before the Valar rose to power, another race ruled the stars. They were called the Architects. They built wonders across the galaxy, machines, ships, weapons beyond imagination. But they vanished thousands of years ago, leaving only ruins and fragments behind. Every great empire has searched for their secrets. The Valar most of all. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. Architects. The word felt heavy, ancient. Sarai's voice lowered. The Guardian is not fully human. Your leaders found something decades ago. Wreckage buried deep beneath the ice of Europa. It was architect technology. Broken, forgotten, but still powerful. They studied it, copied it, and built this ship around its design. Gasps filled the bridge. Engineers and officers stared at one another in shock. Pieces of the puzzle fell into place. The strange alloys no one could explain. The shield system that even Earth's best scientists barely understood. The power core that seemed too advanced for human minds. Ward's jaw tightened. You're saying my ship is stolen? Sarai shook her head gently. Not stolen, discovered, claimed, but the Valar know what it is. That is why they fear you. The Guardian is not just a battleship. It is a key to what? The question hung in every mind, Sarai continued. The Dominion believes the Architects left behind something greater than ships. A weapon. A power to control the stars themselves. The Guardian carries fragments of its design. If humanity unlocks it, the balance of the galaxy will change forever. Silence pressed down like a weight. The Guardian was no longer just Earth's shield. It was a spark that could ignite an endless war. Lieutenant Cade spoke at last, her voice trembling. So the Valar don't want to destroy us only because we broke their law. They want to destroy us because they're afraid we might find this weapon, Sarai nodded. Yes, they will not stop. They cannot. The Dominion survives by controlling fear. If another race rises with architect power, their empire collapses. Ward studied the Kyle envoy carefully. Her words explained much, but he knew better than to trust too quickly. And you? Why are you here? Why warn us? What do you want with the Guardian? For the first time, Sarai's perfect calm cracked. A shadow crossed her face. We want the same thing the Valar want, she admitted. But we do not wish to use it for chains. We wish to keep it from anyone who would abuse it, including you if necessary. The crew stiffened. The truth was clear. The Kale were not simply allies. They were guardians of their own kind, and they had come to judge humanity. The revelation cut deep. The Guardian was not just Earth's hope, it was bait. A prize both sides wanted. A spark that could draw the galaxy into chaos. Suddenly alarms blared. The ship's sensors lit up. Multiple contacts incoming, the officer shouted. Valar ships re-entering the system. Ward turned sharply to Sarai. Did you lead them here? Her glowing eyes narrowed. No, but they would have followed anyway. They will not rest until this ship is ash. The Guardian's crew scrambled, rushing to battle stations. The Kale envoy stood still, watching with unreadable eyes. Ward's mind raced. Could he trust her? Or was this all a game? A trap to weaken Earth before the final strike? Captain, Cade whispered, her voice urgent. What if she's right? What if this ship is a key? What if Earth is holding something we don't understand? Ward's eyes hardened. Then we learn fast. Or we die trying. Outside the windows, stars flared with light as new Valar ships tore into real space. The battle was about to begin again. But this time, humanity fought with a new weight on their shoulders. The Guardian was no longer just Earth's first battleship. It was a secret older than humanity itself. A secret the galaxy was willing to kill for. And deep inside its dark hull, something ancient stirred, systems humanity had not built, systems not yet awakened. The truth was clear now. Earth was no longer a child among the stars. It had stepped into a war of giants, and the giants were watching. The Guardian drifted at the edge of the solar system, bruised and broken but still alive. Fires burned in the lower decks. Hull plates were scorched and torn. Many of its crew had already given their lives. But Captain Ward knew there would be no rest. The Valor had returned. Sensors screamed as the Dominion Armada tore into real space. Dozens of warships appeared first, then hundreds. Their black hulls glowed with deadly energy, their formations stretching across the stars like a wall of knives. This was no raid. This was annihilation. On the bridge, silence reigned. Every officer stared at the screen, pale and breathless. No human ship had ever faced such a force. No human ship should even try. Ward broke the silence with calm words. "We hold the line. For Earth, for humanity." The crew straightened. Fear still burned in their eyes, but it was no longer enough to break them. They had seen too much, lost too much. This was their stand, their final chance. The Guardian's engines flared. Shields crackled alive, weapons powered to full. The battleship turned to face the coming storm. The Velar wasted no time. Their first volley lit up the void, beams of green fire and plasma storms crashing against the Guardian's shields. The ship shuddered, metal screamed, lights flickered. "Shields down to 60%. Lieutenant Cade shouted. "Return fire," Ward commanded. Railguns thundered, plasma cannons roared, missiles streaked across the void. The Guardian fought like a beast cornered, striking with all its might. Several Valar ships exploded, their wreckage scattering across the stars. But for every enemy destroyed, 10 more pressed forward. The battle raged near Neptune's orbit, a storm of light and fire against the dark. The Guardian danced between waves of enemy fire, its crew fighting with desperate courage. Engineers died in the lower decks to keep power flowing. Medics worked in smoke-filled corridors, refusing to abandon the wounded. Every soul aboard knew there was no escape. Then came the breaking point. A massive Valar battleship moved forward, larger than the Guardian itself. Its weapons burned brighter, its shields thicker than anything humanity had ever seen. One blast from its main cannon struck the Guardian, tearing through decks, throwing crew members into walls. Fire spread, alarm screamed. Power failing. An officer cried, "Shields collapsing!" The Guardian was dying. Ward stood tall, his voice steady. "All weapons, fire everything we have left." The ship answered. Railguns emptied, cannons blazed, missiles streaked one last time. The Valar giant staggered, shields sparking, but it did not fall. It turned its guns for the killing blow, and then something happened. Deep inside the Guardian, systems humanity had never touched came alive. Lights glowed across the ship's core, alien symbols flickering across screens. Engineers shouted in confusion. The controls were moving on their own. "What's happening?" Cade gasped. Ward's eyes narrowed. He remembered Sarai's words. "The Guardian is not fully yours. It carries the design of the old ones." The ship trembled, but not in pain. In awakening, power surged through its veins. Shields flared back to life, brighter and stronger than ever. Weapons hummed with new energy, glowing with alien fire. The Guardian was no longer just a human ship. It was something more, something ancient. Ward gave the only order that mattered. "Fire!" The Guardian's main cannon unleashed a beam unlike anything Earth had built. Pure light tore across the void, striking the Valar battleship. Its shields shattered instantly, its hull split open, and in a flash, the mighty warship exploded into nothing. The crew gasped in awe. For the first time, the Valar fleet faltered, but the Guardian did not stop. Alien systems guided its weapons with impossible precision. Plasma bursts ripped through cruisers. Rail slugs punched holes in destroyers. In minutes, ships that had seemed invincible were torn apart like paper. The Dominion Armada broke. Their proud formation shattered. Ships turned and fled into the dark, unwilling to face the awakened monster Earth had unleashed. On the bridge, the crew stared in silence, their eyes wide. They had won. Against all odds, they had survived. Humanity had stood against an empire and forced it to retreat, but victory carried weight. Ward knew it as he looked out into the endless stars. The Guardian's secret was no longer a secret. The Valar would return, stronger than ever. Other races would come too. The Kyle, the Silent Watchers, the hidden enemies and allies. Humanity had stepped into the war of the giants. There would be no going back. Ward spoke softly, his voice carrying across the bridge. "We are no longer alone. The galaxy knows us now, and we will be ready." The crew rose to their feet. Some smiled, some wept, but all stood with pride. They were the first defenders of Earth, the first warriors of humanity among the stars. The Guardian floated in silence, its alien systems dimming back into quiet sleep. Around it, wreckage drifted, the remains of a battle that would be remembered forever. And far beyond the edge of the system, in the dark where no light reached, new eyes watched. Not Valor, not Kale, something older, something waiting. The war was only beginning.